We had some Let's Go Brandon chants in there.
Right.
You had a car alarm. You had some questions, which I don't think the Biden spokesperson was ready for. It doesn't look like they'd planned this very well to send Robert De Niro, I don't know how old he is, but he's a hot mess. He has Trump derangement syndrome, into the belly of the beast. Why do you think the Biden campaign thought that was a good idea after spending the whole year distancing themselves politically from the trial?
Because they were desperate, because Biden had a bad news cycle in the last few days. It's a bad headline from Politico saying that Democrats are in full freakout mode. So what I was thinking, if I'm a comms person on that campaign team, what you want to do is figure out what is the shiny object we can dangle over here that everyone will go running towards. And I mean, think about it. You and I are talking about this right now.
They dangled De Niro.
And so, but here's the thing. I think it ended up backfiring because he's calling people crazy as he's coming off as unhinged. And then they all flock to the back of his press conference because now they're very angry that he called them crazy at the very beginning. And they're screaming the entire time, which completely defeated the purpose of what he was doing.
We all witnessed a Hollywood Hall of Famer destroy his legacy for Dementia Joe. Bobby D will no longer feel comfortable walking the streets of New York City. Even in deep blue New York, many now will look at him as an old, unhinged man. De Niro has opened himself up to be ridiculed and shunned. And forget about walking around in Little Italy. He may play a tough guy in the movies, but he was exposed badly. And actually, he exposed himself. He simply picked the wrong role. And now, he'll no longer be considered a big man on Mulberry Street.
I love that he acts like he's a New Yorker, but Trump isn't. Trump doesn't walk around outside wearing a mask. Not only do you lose your New York card, De Niro, you lose your man card. You went from raging bull to raging wussy.
I cannot believe we saw Robert De Niro, big tough guy, big bodyguards next to him, walking into this press conference wearing a mask. Come on, dude. Seriously?
Where's your granny panties, dirty grandpa? I'd wear a mask too if I owed that much alimony. And
in addition to alimony and child support, did you know, and perhaps this was an incentive for him to do this appearance, he owes over $6.5 million in back taxes.
Child support. But he's a perfect example of a half opinion clouding out any reasonable solution whatsoever. He's never addressed the crime in New York as a real New Yorker, I haven't.
Because he doesn't feel it. He obviously walks around with bodyguards in the city that he loves. He's far, probably in some penthouse, so he doesn't see what the little people have to deal with.
Heard it. Immigration, inflation, education, the debt, because he's stuck in this emotional cage of his own making. And it's sad to see him go to a courthouse and rail against a person that he believes is Hitler. How did you get to this point? He got high on his own stash. And that stash was his projection of hate, emotion, despair. But I have a question for him. Where do you go? No one's asking this. Where do you go from here?
I'll answer that. He's completely done. His movies will not, if he ever gets another role, which I'm sure he could probably talk himself into it, but his movies will not be attended. Hollywood is finished. He mortgaged his future. There are movies of his, as I've mentioned many times, the Godfather roles. I used to watch them over and over. Ain't gonna do it anymore. Meet the Fockers? Nope, ain't gonna see it. Your royalties are going to dry up. But you're okay. You're a rich elitist in New York City. Don't worry about it. Bobby D will be fine. Nothing's gonna go wrong with him, but going from here, nowhere. He's done.
Like, what's next? Let's say Trump loses the election. Are you done? I would say yes, because his hatred of Trump was a luxury belief. You can endure the Democrat policies of crime, inflation, illegal immigration, war, because they don't affect Robert De Niro. Right. What affects him, this incredibly wealthy guy who got a lot of tax breaks, was Trump's impact on him emotionally. Yeah. That matters more to all of those issues that I just mentioned. The polls show that Trump leads on these issues, crime and immigration and the economy. But that doesn't matter to him. It's his unhinged emotional tantrum that trumps all. He's the ultimate selfish, self-absorbed prick.
Ooh, ouch. self-absorbed, couldn't have said it any better. That's exactly what he is. He doesn't care about the little people in New York City. If he did, he couldn't act the way that he did. It's pathetic to see that this guy who tries to, put himself in a position as though he's, Mr. New York. He hates New York and what it's become. It's obvious he doesn't want to be amongst the people of New York City. And as bad as De Niro's appearance was for his own self-esteem, it was even worse for Dementia Joe's campaign. I want you to understand and remember this. Somebody chose De Niro to deliver that message. Someone in Dementia Joe's camp actually approved and wrote that script. You can bet that every single word was approved and crafted to deliver a certain message. And by all measures, that speech that he delivered or tried to deliver was an epic fail. Even Democrat operatives in the libnut media recognized that it was a huge mistake. They understood that doing that was a huge tactical flop. It completely missed the mark. And that forced Dementia Joe's staff to immediately go into damage control. But Dementia Joe's staff doesn't even seem to know how to do that.
Okay, joining us now, Communications Director for the Biden-Harris campaign, Michael Tyler, who, as we mentioned, also spoke at the news conference outside the courthouse. I guess I have to ask you why you decided to speak there.
Why did you do that, man? It kind of sucked. What were you thinking?
To have the campaign show up at the courthouse, I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me at all.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. We showed up there because the news media has been incessantly posted up there day in and day out for weeks. And so, as we said last week, we are going to use the next month to talk about the upcoming presidential debate in Atlanta and the things that Donald Trump is going to have to answer for.
Now hold on a second. You work for the current president of the United States, and you're telling me you're going to have to chase cameras around the country? You need to chase people to get your message out? Man, that's kind of weak, isn't it?
First and foremost, he's going to answer for the continued threat that he poses to our democracy, his continued embrace of political violence. And so that's what
Continued embrace of political violence. The only problem with these people like at MSNBC and CNN is they don't follow up with any questions. This guy has as you watch this video, watch him talk. He's going to go really, really fast trying to get his points out there. He's already basically memorized what he's going to say, how he's going to say it, what words he's going to say, and he's going to push through. What all these reporters have to do is say, whoa, pump your brakes. What policy of violence does Donald Trump have? I haven't seen it. I don't know anybody who's seen it, but for some reason, Dementia Joe's people think that there's some sort of, policy of violence.
De Niro and officers for known and done were speaking to down in Manhattan yesterday. They were speaking to the fact that Donald Trump still regularly embraces political violence.
Where's that come from? And why don't you stop him and say, what are you talking about? What political violence are you speaking of? Haven't seen it. Haven't seen it at all. But for some reason, Dementia Joe's people, that's the point that they want to push.
Calling for a bloodbath if he loses.
No, he didn't. He was talking about the auto industry. Again, when you're watching these clips, hopefully you probably don't watch MSNBC. I'm just pointing this out to you to show you how bad that they did yesterday with De Niro, that they're out there doing damage control, and they're causing more damage.
This election and is pledging to rule as a dictator on day one. And so, given that the news media is
I get everything that you're saying, Michael. I get everything you're saying. But
I love that. Hey, come on, man. Stop bullshitting bullshitters. We understand what you're saying. I need you to answer some questions. So she stopped him midpoint through his role. He kind of had to smile because he looked concerned because she stopped him and said, I have a question I want you to answer.
I'm just curious about the location. Last week, when the members of Congress showed up to support Donald Trump, I called it unbecoming of the office. They're serving the people of their district, American citizens, and not supposed to politicize a court proceeding. And I feel the same way about the campaign. Is there any concern about the campaign getting a little bit too close to these court proceedings, and could that backfire? Any concerns? Looking back, was it a good decision?
Now, she asked a very good question. Dude, everybody that you've seen in the media over the last 24 hours that said this was a train wreck. It was an absolute fail of epic proportion. She's giving him a chance now to say, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe we, stepped over our bounds here, got over our skis. Maybe we shouldn't do that. But no, this dude has his pre-prepared remarks, and he's just going to go for it.
No, there's no concern. This campaign is not speaking about the substance of the trial in any way, shape, or form. What we are talking about, what we talked about yesterday, and what we'll continue to talk about is the unique threat that Donald Trump poses to our democracy.
He might want to go back and look at what De Niro said. De Niro specifically said, you people are clowns. We can't let this guy get back in office. He just completely denigrated Donald Trump and Donald Trump supporters. All 80 to 100 million of us. Just did whatever. He just puked all over us. We were clowns, buffoons. Look at this. Look what's going on here. You don't want this. This guy's pretending like it never even happened. Doesn't realize that it's on tape. Hopefully you won't see it, because Donald Trump is somehow a threat to democracy.
And so a lot of the coverage as of late has been focused on the stakes for him, but we're making sure that the American people understand the stakes for them.
Which American people? Because I'm pretty sure people I'm talking to and people I know understand what the stakes are in this election. So you're talking to the people that you want to reach. Just be honest.
And that's Donald Trump's potential rise to power if he's able to win this election. This campaign is making sure that he does not. That's why we are engaged and focused on highlighting the stakes, highlighting what he's attempting to do if he's able to regain power.
Perhaps as a political opponent, maybe you should focus on what you can do. Again, the boogeyman in the closet strategy isn't working. You're trying to make people afraid of the other guy. Instead, if he's been in office for 4 years, just talk about what Joe's done. Just highlight the various things that make Joe a better choice. He's gonna go on here and keep talking about a threat to democracy, how he's a threat to the American way of life. Meanwhile, we see what Dementia Joe's been doing.
But also highlighting the president's historic record of accomplishment, the positive things that he has done day in and day out.
Good. Let's hear it. What are they?
For working people across this country. That's what we're doing today in Philadelphia with the launch of Black Voters for Biden. And that's what we'll do day in and day out, making sure that people understand Joe Biden's positive record of accomplishment, his vision for the future, and of course, constantly calling out the danger and the threat that Donald Trump poses to our democracy. That's what we were doing yesterday, and it's what we will continue to do.
So you're going to continue, his words, not mine, you're going to continue saying there's a boogeyman in the closet. You just had a chance right then and there to speak to Dementia Joe's, quote, accomplishments. What are they? Why do we have to search for them? You're sitting right there. You have an opportunity. You said you're chasing cameras all around the country. So if you're chasing cameras and one is pointed at you, why not say specifically, look in that camera and say, this is everything that Joe's done, and we feel so good that he's a better candidate, because they can't.
We expect more of these sort of guerrilla surprise style campaign appearances, whether the courthouse or elsewhere. And secondly, we may be just hours or a day or two away from a verdict in the Trump case. Do you think that's going to matter to voters one way or the other, no matter what the outcome may be?
Well, yeah, listen, I'll take those in order. Look.
All right, I want you to pay attention here. The guy asked him 3 questions, but the last question was, what do you think will happen one way or the other if Donald Trump is convicted? Tell me if you hear an answer.
First and foremost, I think one thing that this campaign understands is that we operate in an increasingly fragmented and fractured media environment. And so when you have one thing like this trial that's taking up a lot of oxygen, you have to be creative. You have to use every tool at your disposal to break through that clutter and communicate your message.
You work for the President of the United States. At any time, 24/7, if he wants to come talk to the people, there is nobody that's stopping Dementia Joe from talking and communicating with the American people. Nobody is stopping him. Every camera on MSNBC and CNN and even on Fox will turn on and basically cover what he has to say. So right there, he's lying.
to the electorate. That's what yesterday was about, and this campaign will continue to be creative in the ways in which we reach the voters where they are right now. As it relates to the verdict, what this campaign is focused on, and what we know to be true, is that there's one way to guarantee that Donald Trump never returns to power, and that's by defeating him at the ballot box. That's what voters did in 2020, and that's what this campaign is charging towards in 2024. And that's why we're constantly reminding people of what the stakes are going to be, because Donald Trump is going to be the Republican nominee at this point. And so the American electorate in this campaign has to be ready to defeat him at the ballot box.
They don't mean that. They don't want to go head to head with him. I'm still just wondering if this debate is even going to happen, especially if Trump gets convicted.
How important is energizing black voter turnout with this focus today?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. Thank you for the question. That's exactly what today is about. We have both the president and the vice president in Philadelphia directly engaging with black voters in a key city and a key swing state. And that is an effort that we are going to replicate in all of the battleground states.
I bet you they don't. Let's see what happens today as they go out there and try to pander to black people in the inner city of Philadelphia. I bet you $1, I bet you $10, I bet you $100. Neither Kamala or Joe are going to drive anywhere near Kensington. Kensington, in case you don't know, is that area of Philadelphia where people are just zombies. It's an entire area of the city where I don't even think the police want to go. These people are so just completely zombied out from drugs. They just fall around on the street. You've seen them. That city is in dire straits. And today, heading into the campaign, you are, after 3 years, you are now just going to Philadelphia? Why haven't you done anything about Kensington? It's a completely black neighborhood that's been devastated by drugs. But you haven't gone to Kensington the same way you haven't gone to Chicago. Why is it that every single holiday weekend we can count on 40 or 50 people being shot in Chicago? Every single weekend. I don't think you need a degree. I don't even think you need to be in office. There's an easy prescription to fix what's going on in some of these inner cities. You don't need rallies. You just need to stop the knuckleheads from doing what they're doing. But you don't, because that's what you want. And that's what black people understand, that this should have been stopped years ago.
Today, tomorrow, through the weekend, and throughout the summer, we're focused not only on ramping up our paid advertising investments, but
I just call that money laundering. And, you know, it's funny. And here's why I call it money laundering. Here's what happened. Campaign raises money from whoever. The campaign then writes big checks to the news organizations. News organizations run the ads, and they're going to just keep getting paid. So if you're going to run a $20 million campaign and you write a check to MSNBC or CNN, they're going to talk positively about you. Why? Because you are a big client. You're spending a crap load of money. Money talks. I don't think enough people understand what goes on with political advertising. Do you think for an instant that the people on MSNBC or CNN or some of these other networks are going to talk badly on an ongoing basis about the person who's paying them? I worked for an advertising agency. I told you what goes on there. You have to be very careful. You basically have to live the brand. If you're representing McDonald's, don't ever get caught eating at Wendy. You just have to keep living the brand. That's how the money keeps flowing. But I have a second question. More importantly, in 2024, when is the last time you've sat through a commercial? I don't think I've sat through a commercial in probably 3 or 4 years. You can run as many ads as you want. I'm not going to see them. It comes on TV and it's boop, 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 fast forward. There's not much I watch live except for sporting events. I'll watch a sporting event if it interests me. Otherwise, I'll DVR that too and just go through. But now they've got this new basically feature where you can hit the top plays and go through a whole game in about 15 minutes. Don't have to see commercial one. So what makes you think it makes sense to keep spending this money and raising money and putting it into advertising? There's only one reason. And that one reason is to keep that machine fed so they keep talking good about you. I guarantee you, if they cut off the advertising to MSNBC and CNN, you'd see a completely different way that they cover politics.
Really deepening and scaling our organizing apparatus across the summer, working with partner organizations, tapping into their networks, their grassroots networks, so that we can communicate directly with black voters in their communities. We understand that you cannot show up in September and October and just come ask for votes. You have to.
Well, that's what you're doing. You're doing it a couple months early, but that's exactly what you're doing. You've ignored the black community for 3 years. And now you're going to show up in Philadelphia and go to black communities and say, hey, vote for us. We're going to do it, really help you. We're doing great. When they've lived for 3 years understanding these guys ain't done shit. They're lying. Every 3 or 4 years, they show up here with their nice little cars and nice flowery speeches, and they're going to help the black people, and then they don't do anything. Black people now understand we don't take that anymore.
To earn votes. That's what Joe Biden understands. That's what Kamala Harris understands. And that's the work that this campaign is doing. And I think
if you truly meant what you just said, then you wouldn't be putting these newcomers in these neighborhoods, making these kids have to leave their soccer and football fields so that you could just put all these people there, give them all kinds of money, take money from the city services that were going to help black residents, and now you're going to go in there and say, but hey, listen, we had to do that, but still vote for it. These people are obtuse.
As you pointed out, that sustained organizing work stands in stark contrast to the outreach efforts or lack thereof that we see from the Trump campaign.
So Trump has not reached out, has had no outreach to the minority community. These people are I can't even explain to you how obtuse they are. They must see the polls. They must see the rise that Trump is getting from the black and Hispanic community, yet they completely disavow. It's like it doesn't happen. It's fake. They don't even want to even grasp what is going on in the black and Hispanic community.
They seem to think that you can shutter minority outreach centers and meanwhile hawk bootleg sneakers or tout your own mugshot as evidence that black voters should support you.
Yeah, that's all he's doing. That's all he's doing. He's putting out mugshot T-shirts and the sneakers. That's a huge push that he's doing. But then again, I understand the boogeyman in the closet is all you have. That's the complete entirety of your message.
As far as their outreach effort goes, we know that that's bogus. We know that black voters know that to be an insult to their intelligence, and the way that you earn their support is by reminding them of what you have done for them, which is what this administration has done. No administration has done more.
Okay, maybe he's going to get into what they've done for black people. Hold on here. Wait a second.
Or for black voters than this administration, reminding them of the stakes in working to earn their vote. So that's what Philadelphia is about. That's what.
Nope, he didn't. He said that they've done just a tremendous job for the black community, but he didn't go into any of it.
This entire summer is going to be about for this campaign.
So how do you break through on that key central core issue of this campaign about the economy?
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. You do it in a number of ways, right? It takes relentlessness. That's what a campaign is all about. But you have to remind people of where we came from and where we are going and what the stakes are. We have to.
Can't do that. You can't remind people of where you came from, because if they look at where they came from, they know they were paying $1.80 for gas. They know that they could basically get decent rent and mortgage payments for the blacks who wanted to buy homes. You can't even talk about that. They know they used to be able to go into their football fields and their rec centers and not be accosted by dozens and hundreds of newcomers. That's where they used to be. That's where the black community was, but you can't even talk about that because you've completely destroyed all of those things.
Remind people of the historic record of accomplishment since this president took office. 15 million jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, the work that the president has done to lower costs for middle-class families.
I'm sorry, I just spoke about the gas prices, and I'm pretty sure grocery prices are out the wazoo as well. What the hell is this guy talking about? And as far as job numbers, well, you're counting the numbers that came back from the pandemic, and you're counting people who are working 2 or more jobs, and you're talking about the expansion of the government, all of that stuff.
Capping the cost of insulin, for example, at $35.
Now, while I am happy that people who are diabetic can get insulin, the majority of the black community, that doesn't affect them whatsoever.
$5 for seniors. He's going to cap the cost of insulin for everybody in a second term.
Yeah, that's really not what we all want. Of course, we want people to be taken care of, but the majority of people who go to restaurants, who go anywhere and have to drive and get gas, he's not addressing that. He's talking about insulin for seniors and diabetics. Like, that's really going to drive black votes. Obtuse is the word.
The $2,000 annual out-of-pocket cap for seniors on prescription drugs, the continued work that we have to do, but also making sure that people understand that everything Donald Trump is talking about doing would only worsen the gap between the super wealthy and the rest of us.
What a false statement. And who is this rest of us? Because I'm pretty sure everybody watching this video would love to be paying sub $2 for gas. I'm positive. I'm sure you would like 20 to 30 or 40% off your groceries. I'm positive. I'm sure you'd look at buying a house if mortgage rates were back to like 2 and 3%. So how is it just benefiting the extreme wealthy?
It's talking about reinstating even more tax cuts for the ultra wealthy and corporations. We see.
Meanwhile, Dementia Joe says he's going to raise taxes 44%, and you bet your ass that's going to affect everybody. These people don't have a clue what he's black, I'm black, and it seems as though he doesn't know what black people really want.
Him out on the stump promising big oil executives that he'll do whatever the hell they want if they cut checks to his campaign, while he then.
I wanted to show you that after that lie about the oil people. I'm going to put this up on the big screen and then pause it really quick.
Cuts.
Look at the faces of these people. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in this still shot. 6 people, and every single one of them are like, you're not making any sense. You make no sense whatsoever. It's obvious that even he's lost the liberal media. These people look so concerned. Al Sharpton, what? The guy in the top left, you're lying to us. Mika and Joe, looking like they've got to go to the bathroom really bad. Guys in the top right, dumbfounded that they're hearing this is the message, the Biden administration. They have no message. They absolutely have no message. And everyone's face on that set is telling you and confirming these people are lost.
Social Security. So we have to make sure that people understand, A, what the record of accomplishment is from the president, the work that he continues to do, but also the...
Why do you have to make people understand? See, that's the biggest problem I'm having with Dementia Joe and the way they're running their campaign. They feel they have to make people understand. There's only one way that people can understand. There's one, just one. It's called what they're doing at the retail establishment. What I'm paying for gas. What I'm paying for groceries. The crime in the street. I wouldn't have to understand that if it was actually happening. There's nothing you can tell me that changes my mind about what I'm paying for gas. There's nothing you can tell me that can change my mind about what I'm paying for groceries. I don't understand who's crafting their messaging, but as you saw with the faces of the people on the set, they know it's not going to work. It can't possibly work because you can't convince people of what the reality is that they're living. But they just keep going on with these bumper stickers.
Damage that Donald Trump would do to middle-class families.
Again, boogeyman in the closet. He's going to hurt middle-class people when they know he already didn't do that.
If he's able to regain power. And so that's what this campaign is going to relentlessly communicate from now until November.
Democrats are lost. They picked the wrong actor. They picked the wrong location. They wrote the wrong script. That event was an epic swing and a miss. And Dementia Joe's people have nothing viable to offer, not just black people, but anybody. So now they're off the pandering in Philadelphia to see what kind of black people they can convince, his own words, let them understand that they would be better than Donald Trump. As you heard, it's the same old shit. I don't understand how they can rely on Orange Man bad as their strategy for getting Dementia Joe reelected. It makes no sense whatsoever. Remember, Democrat strategist James Carville has been warning them over and over, but they won't listen.
And we keep wondering why these young people aren't coming home to the Democrats. We say, oh, why blacks are not coming home to the Democrats? Because Democratic messaging is full of shit. That's why.
Let them keep foundering. I don't care. At this point, they absolutely deserve the ass kicking they're about to receive in November. Let me know what you think about that debacle, that epic fail of having Robert De Niro do that speech yesterday. And now, with all this damage control, the only message that they have is that Orange Man is bad and that they hope he gets convicted and taken off the campaign trail and put in jail. That's what they want. That's all they have. Let me know what you think.